afternoon, and welcome to another exciting event. You know,
Well, hello, hello, hello. It's always good to be with my road dog,
oh yeah.
Captain 85, coming to you live. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm
All
still,
right, all right, all right.
yeah.
Well, anyway, I'm Georgia Allen. This is GA for Just Is, and I bring you greetings every Thursday at 12 o'clock noon. And as always, we want to first and foremost thank Henderson Vaughn, aka Captain 85, aka the Dream Maker, who has offered us the opportunity to open up airwaves for us so that we can bring to our listening audience a conversation, a simple conversation for information, a conversation for correction when necessary, as well as a conversation for transformation. And we use this as a time to just kind of share with the listening audience about what is going on in our local area, but sometimes what's going on nationally. This month, as we share with you every year, is we start off the year with the Kwanzaa principles. So in January, the Kwanzaa principle was Umoja, or unity, to strive for and maintain unity in the family, the community, the nation, and the race. But this month, all month long, is Kuji Chagalia, self-determination. Because without self-determination, you're not going to get to your goals. So we encourage people to have some, inner strength that will make them powerful enough to reach that next level. And so Kuji Chagalia means to define ourselves, name ourselves, create for ourselves, and speak for ourselves. And do not allow anyone, anywhere, anyhow to define us, name us, create for us, or speak for us. That's our responsibility to speak for ourselves. So this month, Kuji Chagalia, self-determination, we are excited and a little sad for the rest of the month, but we're excited to devote this broadcast to the late Joe Madison. Now, Joe Madison was also called the Black Eagle, and his voice reigned far and wide, fighting on issues for justice, fighting on issues for freedom, fighting for our voting rights. And he never gave up. He never, ever gave up. And unfortunately, on the 31st of January of this year, Joe lost his battle to prostate cancer. And I share that because I send messages out to my family members, especially our male members, reminding them how important it is to get checked, to get tested, not only for prostate cancer, but colon cancer, and to make it a part of what you do. Just like you brush your teeth, just like you take a bath, just like you go to the doctor and get your eyes checked, you need to go to the doctor and get the prostate check and get the colon check to make sure that you can have a long life. And so we are very sad to have lost Mr. Madison, but he was a fireball. He was a fireman. He was just out there, and we were so proud to be able to just salute him for all the work that he's done over the many, many years that he was on the radio. But the other thing, one of the things that his children shared with us is they shared that because he did get his prostate checked, he had 15 additional years with them. Had he not gotten it checked, he may have lost his life a lot sooner. So we want to thank him for doing what all of our men should be doing, because that is one of the diseases that is prevalent in the Black community. And we lose many of our sons, our brothers, our uncles, our fathers through, to prostate cancer. So for those of you who are listening today, put that on your agenda, put it on your calendar and say, you know what? In memory of Joe Madison, in memory of the Black Eagle, I'm going to do this one thing. I'm going to get my prostate checked so that I may have a longer life with my family and my friends. So with that being said, again, this is dedicated to the Black Eagle. And there's a saying that he always says, and that is, what are you going to do about it? And I put that question out to my listening audience today because we hear people complaining day in and day out for one reason or another. And Joe just simply asks you, and what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? If you're not satisfied with who's being elected to office in your local community, what are you going to do about it? Am I right, Henderson? What are you going to do about it?
I sit on the sideline.
Besides sit on the sideline, besides complaining, besides blaming somebody for what's going on, when you have the ability through self-determination to do some of these things for yourself, to speak up for yourself, to define yourself, to make a difference in your life and the lives of those who are around you by just stepping up and just doing one little thing. So if the way the schools are working in your local area doesn't work for you, or you're not crazy about the way they're doing it, then guess what? What you gonna do about it? What are you gonna do about it? Are you gonna sit there and complain, or are you gonna go to a school board meeting? Are you gonna sit there and complain, or are you gonna go talk to that teacher or that principal, or are you just gonna sit around and complain? But Mr. Madison says, what are you gonna do about it? So he didn't even give you the option to complain. He said, get busy and do something about it, because you do have the ability and the option to do something about it. And so, again, today we're just going to kind of focus on Joe Madison, the Black Eagle. Just a stalwart in the community. He was on Sirius XM. He was on WOL. For those of you who know a little bit about WOL out of Washington, D.C., he was on, he came out of Detroit. He went to Philadelphia. He worked out of New York. This guy worked everywhere, and everywhere he worked, he made a difference in the community that he was in. He fought for the Sudan when things were going awry over in Africa. He fought for them. You know, when we were having trouble getting voting rights passed, he continued to fight. But he did more than just fight. He literally went out and registered people to vote. He didn't just say, let me fight through the microphone. He actually picked up and went out and registered folks to vote. And so there are things that we all can do. And I'll tell you, if you get busy, guess what? A lot of these things that you think you're experiencing or you're upset about or whatever, guess what? They're going to fall right on off, just like a snake changes his skin. Okay? They don't keep that same skin forever. You know why? Because they're crawling and they're moving forward. They're doing something. And so we need people to be moving forward. We need them to be doing something, because if you're doing something, guess what? Some of that stuff is going to fall away. It's not going to stay with you. It's going to move out of your way. So if you want some stuff to move out of your way, do something about it, as Mr. Joe Madison would say. Now I'm going to read one of his quotes that I absolutely love. He has many, many, many. But this one I love, where he says, in America, we are culturally conditioned to believe that white is superior and black is inferior. And the manifestation of cultural conditioning is that black people are undervalued, underestimated, and marginalized. He said, it is not a racist statement. It's a fact of life. So sometimes we need to go and deal with the facts. We need to stop sitting around whining and complaining and being upset all the time. Deal with reality. Deal with the facts of life. Know what the facts are. Know that you can stand on facts, and then you can do something about something. Okay? A lot of people want to say, well, let's don't talk about that. Somebody might get upset.
Hello.
But guess what? The truth of the matter is, if you don't talk about it, or if you do talk about it, people will get upset. So at least, and I forgot to change my name up here. It says Time Grace. That's my other nickname that I have.
Hey, you got to change up on the
They
Maryland.
say Georgia Allen, but anyway.
Yeah. Hey,
Anyway, but the thing of it is, if you sit down and you sit on your butt and you don't get engaged and you don't fight, as Joe Madison would say, and you don't do anything about it, it's going to perpetuate. It's not going anywhere. It's not going to move unless you decide to get up, get involved, get engaged, and do something about the foolishness that's taking place throughout. And whether that's locally, whether that's in your state, whether that's nationally, unless you get up and get involved and do something, you're not going to see a lot of changes. And so today, I just want to remind people that this cultural conditioning that Mr. Madison talked about, it is everywhere. It is everywhere. It's in our neighborhoods, it's on the television set, it's in our movie theaters, it's in the music that's being played. It's conditioning our young people all the time. Listen to the music that they play, that they get our young people to sing. And you sent me something about it recently, the type of rapping and things that they encourage our young people to do.
yeah.
Versus the type of music that they were doing when they first came out. When our young people first came out with rap, the rap was positive, but it was also informational. It was also instructional. They were telling you about what was going on, and they were educating you. It was educational rap music. But what did they do? They said, well, if you don't sing this type of rap, nobody is going to allow you to sign underneath their record label.
Yep.
And so they forced our young people to sing things and not be as creative. So they put out junk instead of putting out valuable information to our young people.
Yeah.
And so today, now I got to ask all these rappers who are out here who know better. What they say, when you know better, you do better.
Yeah.
Okay, we need to ask you, since you now know better, we need you to do better. And as Mr. Madison said, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
You know that they con you. You know that a lot of times they were taking your money and not paying you properly, but they had you riding around in these big, luxurious vehicles. They had you doing your videos in these beautiful homes with swimming pools and 10 and 20 bathrooms and another 30 bedrooms. And they had you doing all of this. And so the people are believing that this is the way you're living.
Yeah.
But that's not the truth, is it, Henderson?
No, ma'am. Because of, even when if they looked at the Oscars, you see what happened. Jay-Z became Kanye West.
You talking about the Grammys?
Right. Yeah, the Grammys.
When they did the Grammys, yes.
Yeah. And he turned into Kanye West about Beyonce. That's what Kanye did when he did it the first time about what you call it when she won. He said Beyonce had all these, and she can't get album of the year. That's what Jay-Z said. My wife got all this hit song.
Number ones.
Never once got a Grammy of the year.
For the album of the year.
And people like, you gotta pay close attention. That's not only thing that they said. They said the categories. R&B.
Yes.
What? Wait a minute. Hold up. These people are not black R&B artists. They are putting the white artists under R&B now.
Correct.
So we are being hoodwinked again. I mean, I love, I play all gyros and music. I ain't blaming the artist. I'm blaming the consumer is taking money out of our community, and we're not getting the labels because you ain't giving me a country or western song because of that. You're not gonna do it. I'm sorry. And we have to stay focused in teaching and educating our young people on that negative content because that's what's driving the violence in our community.
Absolutely. And it's about doing what? Defining ourselves and doing what? Speaking for ourselves.
Right. I get upset.
I know that is critically important. And you're right. Jay-Z did speak up. He did it more diplomatically than Kanye did, but the message was still the same. The message was still the same, that if you're saying that this person has this many #1 records, this many #1 awards, help me to understand, when you do the math, that all those #1s does not equate to the album of the year. And so we got to ask these questions. We have to go out there and ask these questions, because if we don't ask them for ourselves, on behalf of ourselves, on behalf of our children, then who's going to ask those questions for us?
Yeah.
Who's going to ask them for us? You know, so we cannot be upset or blame someone if we haven't done our own homework, if we have not done the things that we're supposed to do. And so today, I just pay homage to Mr. Madison, because I'm telling you, that message, that topic, what are you going to do about it, can affect every area of your life. Every area of your life. And I know people probably say, well, what are you going to do about things that are going on in Virginia Beach? Or what are you going to do about this neighborhood over here, that neighborhood over there? And what I'm going to tell you is, one person cannot do everything for almost 90,000 Black folks in the city of Virginia Beach. Okay.
Hello.
So we need some of you to step up, stop complaining, find something that you can do, get busy, and guess what? You'll be surprised. Your troubles will begin to go away. They really will.
Yeah.
They will go away. You know why? Because you've got yourself invested in something that's of value. You got yourself invested in something that brings you joy. You got yourself invested in something that you can see outcomes and betterment. And if you do that, if you begin to do that, you will see a difference. And so I love Joe Madison. I love Joe Madison because Joe Madison said, dare to be different. Dare to be authentic. Dare to be original. And he challenged us week after week. Well, actually, he was on every day. He challenged us day by day to be different. He challenged us day by day to be original. He challenged us day by day to be authentic, because we got to the point where we want to just be like everybody else. You watch the kids, everybody want to wear baggy pants. They get stand up and half of their everything is showing. I mean, from bottom to top, half of it is out. I go out and everything and all, and I'm like, okay. I went to the grocery store. I did not go out to get crack. Okay? Didn't go out to see crack. Didn't go out to meet crack. Didn't go out to do any of those things. And I go out to get groceries. And what do I see? Crack. So you have to ask yourself, if I'm dressing like that, does it bring me value? Does it bring me benefit? Did it put any more money in my bank account? Did it do any of those things? So when I talk about Joe Madison, yes, I get passionate. I get extremely passionate about him, because he was on the radio show every day, fighting on behalf of our community and fighting on behalf of others as well. Because I'm gonna tell you, if you're Black in America, you can never fight for yourself without the things that you do help other people. So when folks want to say, well, that sounds racist, let me tell you, I tell people all the time, when I'm fighting on behalf of Black people, I don't have to say I'm fighting on behalf of Black women. I do not have to say I'm fighting on behalf of Black men. I do not have to say I'm fighting on behalf of Black children. I do not have to say I'm fighting on behalf of Black gay people. I don't have to say I'm fighting on behalf of Black people with straight hair, curly hair, no hair at all. Because when I fight on behalf of Black people, guess what? If you got curly hair, you won up. You in the fight. If you got straight hair, guess what? If you wear wigs or you wear fake hair or any of that, nails, all of that stuff. If you're Black and I'm fighting on behalf of you, I'm fighting on behalf of you. So as Joe Madison said, what are you going to do about it? It's every day when I get out here and I fight, or I make a phone call, or I call my congressperson, or I call my senator, or I call my council member or my school board member. I'm doing something about the issues that are affecting my kids, my grandkids, my great-grandkids. Even when they don't see it, it's affecting them. Even when I'm not flying a flag and saying, oh, well, let me fly a flag and let me stand to the microphone and let me let everybody know what I'm doing. Self-determination is not about always being in the spotlight. It's day by day, making a phone call, day by day, getting something done so that it brings about a different outcome for others. That's all it is, day by day, day by day. So the other message that Joe Madison had out there, and this one I also love, he says, and this is not a verbatim quote. The first quote was a verbatim. This message, he says, when we are the ones, he said, we are the ones who can fire presidents, and we are the ones who can fire our Congress. We are also the ones who can fire our mayor, our city council member, our school board members, our constitutional officers. But how do we do that? We do it by doing what Joe Madison told us to do. Register and vote. Register and vote. Okay. If you're not pleased with what's taking place, get up, get busy, volunteer, work, and change outcomes. Voting was probably one of the number one things that he talked about a lot. And so I'm going to spend most of the time in talking about either elected officials and not them personally, but in general, and talking about how important it is to vote. And so he said, if somebody is running for office, put them on notice. They're up for re-election. If they're running for office, they're up for re-election. So put them on notice. Remind them, we are their boss. Okay? We are their boss. And these are the type of things he would say over and over again on his radio show. Joe would remind us, because we have a tendency to operate as if they're our boss. No, we are their boss. Okay? And he would say it over and over. He says, sometimes you got to fire them. And he said, regardless of which party it is, if they're not operating in your best interests, if they're not working on your behalf, fire them. But guess what? When you fire them, make sure you got a replacement. Get somebody there, put somebody else into place. If this person isn't doing what they need to do to make it better for you and your kids, your grandkids, your great-grandkids, and those yet unborn, then go out and find someone who can do those things and help them get elected to office so you can fire that other person and put them and put you out of your misery. Okay. Go ahead. That's what you need to do. Get rid of them and put yourself out of the misery that you're under right now. And that's the thing that I really loved about him. I mean, he had a cuss jar. Every time he said a bad word, he threw $1 in the jar, and then he donated it to a nonprofit, to a group that he felt strongly about, whether it was the American Cancer Society or the prostate cancer or colon cancer or whatever. He would use the money to donate to a cause. And that's the other thing. When you're doing something, make sure that you don't just talk about it for 5 minutes. He's talked about it over and over again. He pushed it over and over again. He didn't talk about it for 2 minutes and say, oh, well, let me get on to something else. When it came to voting, when it came to elections, when it came to people who were supposed to be representing our interests, he called them in check. And it didn't matter whether they were Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, or Vegetarian. He called them into check. And that's what you want when you have someone who has access to the microphone, because Joe understood the power of his microphone, because he understood something that I said years and years and years ago. If you can control the mic, you can control the message. And so he was very, very apt in controlling the message. And when people called up and wanted to talk foolishness, I loved it. He'd give them a minute. And if they were acting up, he'd go, hang up on them. He was like, this is my show. I'm not going to allow you to spend a whole lot of time spewing lies, misrepresenting, disrespecting. And he didn't allow it. You know, we see a lot of times these people who are supposed to be journalists, and they come in and have someone that they're interviewing, and they let these people go on and on and on and on and on. And they know that what they're saying is not true. They don't call them out on it. They don't do a follow-up question. When they ask them a question, they allow the people to just spew out anything. The thing that I loved about Joe Madison, he said, not on this show. You're not going to do it on this show. And if you don't like it, you can go talk to somebody else, but you're not going to do it on this show. And so he was a radio show announcer. He was just amazing at what he was able to do with his show. And he had people that have been listening to him since they were children because of the messaging that he did with his show. So I love him telling us and reminding us, because we had a tendency to think that when we elect people to office that they are the boss. And he reminded us on a regular basis, they're not the boss, you are the boss. And he said, it doesn't matter whether they're the president or not. He reminded us over and over again, the president works for us. The president works for us. And we need to make sure that we tell them over and over again, nobody, you work for us. If they're a school board member, you need to remind them, nobody, you work for us. City council member, nobody, you work for us. If it's a mayor, nobody, you work for us. And you need to apply some pressure, and you need to leverage the power that you have in order to put people in their place. So I am, like I said, I have mixed emotions, but I love being able to have the opportunity to share how important Joe Madison was to our community and what a difference he made over the many years that he had control of the mic and he had control of the message. He was absolutely phenomenal. Do you have any things that you remember about Joe Madison, the Black Eagle?
Oh, well, I'm not really a big sports fan, you know, but, you know, I did read a little something, you know, as his bio and stuff of the things that he's done and accomplished, and how he loved the community. So,
yes,
you know, it's important that people realize that we all get the fame and the fortune, but some people don't come back to the community,
right,
and do what he did. You know?
Yeah,
we have the people that's out always out to try to and keep their legacy alive. But what are we doing for the community? And he's
correct.
One that was doing something to inspire and motivate the community. You know, like you said, what are you going to do about it?
What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it other than complain?
Yeah.
What are you going to do about it other than sit around and criticize? People are so good. They're so good at sitting around and doing this over and over and over and over again. But when it comes to rolling up the sleeves and putting in some work to make a difference in their lives and the lives of others, they kind of fall a little short.
Yeah.
And so we want to make sure that we honor and recognize Joe Madison and the work that he did during the period of time that he was out there on the battlefield. A little bit more about Joe Madison. I I ran into him years ago. Nelson Mandela was at a national NAACP meeting, and Joe was a former president of a local branch of the NAACP. And at the time, I was a branch president as well. And ran into him and his wife. And, and at the time I was listening to him up in the DC area. When I would travel up to DC, I would listen to him a lot of times there and all, because we didn't always get him down here in the Hampton Roads area. Mm-hmm. And everything, unless you pulled him up on the internet, you could pull up some of his shows and things of that nature. Right. And so, and so when I ran into him, he was there with his wife, Sherry, and I thanked him for all the work that he was doing on using the microphone to get the word out and about registering to vote, to get the word out about what was going on throughout the local communities, but also throughout the nation. But I also paused to thank Sherry for all the support that she was giving him, because a lot of times when we see somebody and we see them and their spouse, we act as if they're working alone, but 99% of the time they are working in partnership with that spouse. That spouse is supporting them. That spouse is encouraging them. That spouse has their back. And if you mess with Joe, you're messing with Sherry. And I can tell you, if you mess with Joe, you're gonna be in some serious trouble, because Sherry was not gonna take that. And that's the thing that I really love. Even though we had a short time together and everything, you could feel the love and the support that the two of them have for each other. And then, of course, when you listen to the Joe Madison show, The Black Eagle, she was also working alongside him for the last number of years. I don't remember how many years that she was in the studio right there beside him, supporting him, encouraging him. And hello, Teresa. Thank you so much for listening today. And so I want to just encourage people that when you meet, and be it male or female, that the female might be the one that is or whatever. Don't forget, if you see them with their spouse, to also thank the spouse, because that spouse is there to promote them, to encourage them. When the things aren't going well, they're there to say the right thing at the right time. And so I was just thrilled that I had a chance to meet him in person. I'm just sorry that I didn't take a photo with him. Yeah. During that time, because I just always thought I'd probably see him again at another convention or somewhere else, or whatever. And so that's the other thing. Always try, if you can, to get a photo with people, because you never know when you get an opportunity to see them again.
Document.
Huh?
I said document.
Exactly. That is so very important. So very important. Yeah. Now I think it's time for some announcements. So I'm going to give you guys a few announcements. This coming Monday, the NAACP Virginia Beach branch will hold its meeting, and it's going to be at 7 p.m. at the Hive at the Town Center. So if you live in Virginia Beach, or if you have friends and family that live in Virginia Beach, and you've chosen to join the Virginia Beach NAACP versus the city that you live in, because we can go back and forth. Some of our Virginia Beach residents join other branches, and that's because they have connections either through family or through their church or what have you. So I want to remind us that our branches are not in competition with each other. Our branches are collaborative with each other. And we exist to make sure that we all are successful, and not one or two are successful. So we don't criticize or demean one another. We uplift each other, because it's important that we uplift each other. Also, the other thing that's coming up is Thursday, February the 15th at 2 to 4 p.m. for our senior citizen over at Gen Care. If you are a senior and you go to Gen Care for your medical services, they have a free mobile farmers market between 2 and 4 on Thursday the 15th. And what's so great about it, they have fresh fruits and vegetables. If you know anything about communities that have food deserts, one of the biggest things that it is without are fresh fruits and fresh vegetables. So if there are any seniors who are listening, or you have family members who are seniors who may go to the GenCare Senior Medical Center, please remind them that they have an opportunity to get fresh fruits and vegetables there. The other thing that we have is tomorrow. Tomorrow we have one of our sergeants is getting promoted to captain on the Virginia Beach Police Force. And so we are encouraging people to go down to City Council. It's at 11 o'clock at the City Council chambers, but we ask you to get there a little bit early, 10:30. You want to arrive to get there in time to see a new captain on the police force from our own community. And unfortunately, my computer is down and I don't have all the information that I normally have right in front of me, but you should be able to Google it, pull it up, and look at what is taking place in our local city so that we can make sure that we are there to support persons in our community who are doing great things or who are being placed in a position to do better things. Because I always say, if someone is getting a position or being promoted to a new position, we want them to do things in a way that will make the area that they're working in better. So if they have situations on the police department in the city of Virginia Beach, and there are challenges there and all, open your mouth and say, I believe that if we tweak this or tweak that, we can become a better police department. But the other thing is, stay close to your community, because the community can't support the things that they don't know about. We cannot support what we don't know. So if you find areas within the police department that you see or have ideas, or you're innovative or you're creative about things that we can do better, we want to encourage you to let us know about those things so that we're able to add a little extra support. I won't say pressure yet, because we want to first support, and then if necessary, add the pressure. So everything is not immediately about pressure. Everything is not immediately about attack. Everything is not immediately about those things. Some things we just need to add that support to make sure that people know that you're not standing there alone, that you do have a group of people who are standing behind you, who are supporting you, who want to see a difference in our city. And then the next thing I want to say is the city of Virginia Beach has a school board position that's become available. It is in District 4. And the school board member, Mrs. Martin, who served on our community, on our school board, who did a wonderful job in supporting issues that we cared about. If you called her, she called you back, normally within 24 to 48 hours. And if she wasn't able to call you back, she'd text you and let you know that, hey, I'm at the hospital with my husband, or this is going on, but I will get back to you. In every case that I've ever contacted her, she got back to me. She stepped down because she had 2 family members, unfortunately, who are suffering from cancer, and she's their caregiver. And so that's why she is not, that's why she resigned from her school board position, because it was just absolutely too much for her to raise her children, serve school board, help 2 family members navigate the medical things that they have to go through with regards to both her mom and her husband. And so she ultimately stepped down. With that being said, on the radio show today, I will be applying for that open slot that is my district. And so I will be applying to be a school board member here in the city of Virginia Beach. Now, the way it works is in a case like this, you do apply, you get interviewed, and they're determined by appointment who will be the school board member. So I can't say I'm going to get it, but what I can say is that if I do become the person that they select to serve on school board, I will fight on behalf of our children. I will look for innovative ways that we can make a difference in our community, because obviously something is not working well, because if it was, we would see different outcomes. One of the things that I think needs to happen, and that we need to stop using the word training our kids for this and training them for that. We need to use the word teaching our kids to learn this, teaching our kids how to versus training. I don't like that word training. I think some of what is going on in our system, words matter. Words do matter. And so if we can begin to change our vocabulary as a people, if we can begin to do some things, and that's just one of the things. I have a whole list of things that I looked at in terms of looking at our academies, and I'm trying to figure out, what are they producing? Are they producing great outcomes? The kids are passing the classes. I can't say they're not passing the classes or whatever, but what is the long-term outcome that these academies that are being placed in our schools, what benefit are they providing? Not only to our young people, but also to the community at large. Are the young people staying in the community? And if so, are they benefiting from the fact that they went to these academies? And if not, then should I serve on school board? I'm going to have to answer this question for Mr. Madison. What am I going to do about it? And if I don't get to serve on the school board, I still need to answer that question. What am I going to do about it? And those of you who are listening, you also need to answer that question. If you have children in the school system and they only have so many slots in the academy, we need to be looking at how many slots are going to the kids, and is it comparable to the population? Okay, if I have a 30% population of African American kids, but only 2% of that population is in these academies, we need to ask the question, and we need to say, what are we going to do about it? How do we make those changes? How do we make sure that more of our children are being placed in the academies? So there are things. Yes.
Yeah. Other words, why are they blocking them from going to the academy? Because my kids, all my kids that was in Virginia Beach, their teachers had recommended them to go to the gifted classes. And when they went out to speak to principal or whatever, they said they didn't need to be. They didn't. One lady told me they don't need to be in their class. They just need to do the work that they already have. That's why I do what I do, because I know I've been out there to argue. I mean, to try to understand what it takes. And other people in my community, neighbors and stuff, were coming to me saying the same thing. They're holding my kid back. What can we do? But at the time, because I was running a business, people wanted me to run the Lake Everett Civic League and stuff, and work on other things, and I just couldn't. It was too much for me at the time. But like I said, this is why we have to have people like you, and be supporting people like you, so that you know how to get it done, where to find the answers, and advocate for that change. And trust me, it's a lot of change that still need to be needed in the school system.
Absolutely. We definitely want somebody to take a look at the standards that we currently have, because my mind is boggled that America has had public schools for hundreds of years, and I personally don't see anything that rises to expectations of excellence. You know, we have folks graduating from school, and this one goes off, they may become a lawyer. A lot of the lawyers, they're lawyers, but they don't necessarily make a ton of money, contrary to what people might believe. Same thing with the doctors. Yeah. They don't necessarily make a ton of money or anything. So they go into these various career paths or what have you, and they're just barely making it from paycheck to paycheck. So what is it that we are not doing? See, it's not always about what we are doing. Sometimes it's about what we're not doing that creates the problems and the situations that we experience throughout our community and throughout our society. And so hopefully, you know, should I get the position, hopefully we can look at some new ways of thinking, because my mind is always like, okay, what innovative thing that we do to create a different outcome? Because I believe that we should be looking at a 100% graduation rate. And I don't mean a 100%, let's just put a certificate in your hand. I'm talking true graduation rate. Okay. I strongly believe that we should be looking at more entrepreneurships. I don't believe we should tell our children in 2024, go to school, work real hard, and get a good job. I don't believe that's the right messaging. Again, I believe that a lot has to do with what is being said to our young people. And there's not this level of looking for excellence, setting expectations. It's almost looking for mediocrity, looking for average. And Joe Madison didn't want to see average. He didn't want to see subpar. He didn't want to see barely making it. He wanted to see greater. He wanted to see more. He had great expectations when young people came in and they were working with him as interns and you know, in administration, in any parts of the area of radio. He was always looking for them to grow and become more. And so when I think of Mr. Madison, I'm like, okay, what are we going to do about it? I'm looking at what are we going to do to be different, to excel, to not just barely make it. What are we going to do to go beyond that? And what is it that we have to do with our young people to help them to understand that they should not be sitting around doing nothing all day, day in and day out, but they should be using that mind. I look all the time and I read up all the time where they say that in all of these years, we are still only using about 10% of our brain power.
Yep.
It is 2024. And all these kids, after all these years, have been going through school year in and year out. What is it that these instructors are not doing that is preventing children from using more of their brain power? If we've been using 10% for over 200, 300, 400 years, shouldn't be at least at 20% or 30%? But shouldn't we start to see that our minds are developing and that we're using more of our brain power in 2024 than we were using back in 1824? So those are the kind of questions I ask, you know, because I guess because I'm a little bit different, I sit down and I look at things from a different perspective. I don't just go along to get along. It just irritates me that people have become so robotic in a lot of what we're doing. It's like robots just moving around and not moving toward any specific goal. They get up, they go to the bathroom, they go to work, they come back home, they go to the bathroom, and they go to bed. And they do that with everything, with school. Get up, go to the bathroom, go to school, come back home, go to the bathroom, and go to bed. And they find something to eat in between those times, at varying times and stuff. But you don't really see a generation of people that are saying and having conversations. They have access to all this technology, but when they are on the technology, you don't hear them on the technology saying, what are you planning on doing in life? What is it that you like to do? Do you want to own a business or do you want to work for somebody? And Joe Madison said, what are you doing about it? What you going to do about it? Are we going to just continue this methodical, robotic way of living day in and day out? Or are we going to do something? Is there going to be an epiphany that allows us to open up our minds to think beyond this small, tiny space that we're living in that is never growing? This morning as I was getting up and getting ready for the show, the one thing that kept coming to my mind: are we going to continue to struggle or are we going to strive? Are we going to struggle or are we going to strive? Are we going to strive for something better? Or are we going to live our lives struggling day in and day out? Or are we going to make a decision to strive for something better? It was a simple question that came to me in the middle of the night as I'm thinking about getting ready for the show today. And all that kept coming to me was strive, struggle, struggle, strive, strive, struggle, or struggle, strive. And so I hope for those of you who have been listening to me today, as we talk about Joe Madison, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to struggle or are you going to strive? Are you going to move forward? Are you going to be mediocre? Are you going to be average? Or are you going to live for excellence? Are you going to wake up every morning and look in the mirror and say, you know what? I can do better today than I did yesterday. Are you going to wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to strive for excellence? I'm going to raise the bar. I'm going to raise my expectations. I'm not going to sit here and box myself in to just be mediocre. I'm not going to box myself into that. I'm not going to box myself in to be an average. I'm going to say, you know what? I don't give a hoot where I came from. I don't care how hard I've had it. I don't care about any of those things. Every single day that I get up, I want to see what one thing can I do today that moves me toward excellence. I think Joe would be kind of happy to hear this show today. Yeah. I think he would be kind of excited to hear someone talking about him and sharing with him and sharing about him. It was always, he always dared us to be better. He always dared us to be different. He always dared us to be defiant. Don't just be different, be defiant. If folks are not doing what they're supposed to do, defy that. Push back against it. One announcement I did not make. And I know you know this one. In the General Assembly of Virginia, they passed the 10-1 bill. It's House Bill 416 that passed in the House, is passed in the Senate. It does have to go to the governor for signature. So I would recommend people get on the phone, send texts, send email, and let the governor know, sign the bill.
Yeah.
Sign House Bill 416. Sign the bill. Sign the bill. And we should have that as a message to all of those who are out here, those who are voters in the city of Virginia Beach and the Commonwealth of Virginia. Tell the governor, sign the bill. Sign the bill. Make sure that they codify the voting, new redistricting voting system that we have here in Virginia Beach, and change the charter to reflect that. And so it's been great talking with you all today. Thank you to my listening audience, those who are listening now, those who will listen later. But it's about Joe. Now, next week, I'm going to talk about Joe Madison and what you're going to do about it. And I'm going to pull up some of his old quotes. I'm going to pull up some of the things that he talked about, because he didn't just talk about voting. He also talked about education. He talked about health care. He talked about housing. He talked about everything. And so we're gonna find some stuff to talk about. We're gonna pull up some of his old shows and listen to some of the things that he talked about. And we're gonna share it with our listening audience, just to remind them to get up, get busy, roll up your sleeve, get engaged. And if you see something wrong, ask yourself, not only what are you going to do about it, is what can I do about it? Okay, what can I do about this issue? What can I do to help this community? What can I do? So I hope that you guys have enjoyed the show today. We're coming up to the close. Again, I thank you so much for listening. Again, this show is being dedicated to Mr. Joe Madison, the Black Eagle. He was phenomenal every single day. He always had a show that you just got excited about. We're going to miss you, Joe. We're going to miss that voice. We're going to miss that voice for the community. We're going to miss that fight, because you had a fight in you. And we thank you so much for the many, many, many years that you fought on behalf of our community. And with that being said, this is Georgia Allen. I'm signing off with GA for Just Is, because it just is the right thing to do, to fight on behalf of those who are less fortunate than you. Thank you. All right, Henderson.
All right. Thank you once again, Miss Georgia Allen. I'm talking about the community activist for GA for Justice, a community service talk show that's dedicated to the 757 VA 2 Open 2 Down, and especially for the area of Virginia Beach from which we broadcast from. But don't forget to tune in next Thursday as we continue to salute the man that did a lot and did a lot of inspiring things. But nevertheless, until next Thursday from 12 until 1, GA for Justice will return. Until then, thank you so much, and